Welcome to the 49-Yard Dash Podcast, a podcast on your San Francisco 49ers, hosted by myself, Stephen Ellis, joined non-weekly by my good friend Josh. And again, 2 weeks in a row, we have Luke, again, the self-proclaimed Big Daddy.
How's everybody doing tonight, man?
We're doing all right, man. We're doing all right.
Yeah. Little Daddy present.
I wish I could say it was a victory week, but unfortunately we've had you 2 weeks in a row where it is following a loss. So I don't know if you're just bad luck or what.
Yeah, do you guys just invite me on losing weeks or what? I like to talk about some wins, man, but
we just don't like you, man. So we just we try to rail on you as much as possible, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's true.
Understandable. Yes. Well, thanks for having me back. I'm going to try to bring out my first quarter Jimmy G performance and not my second quarter Jimmy G performance for tonight's episode. So, yeah, looking forward to it tonight.
Oh, yeah.
That would be great. You can also find Josh on gbmwolverine.com. He writes good stuff from Michigan there. Again, we probably don't have any Niner and Michigan fans, but, hey, it's worth reading.
Nobody cares about either one, man. Steve.
Hey, man, people care about the 49ers. They probably just don't care about us talking about the 49ers.
No, they don't. But, hey, don't worry about that, Steve. I'm a diehard Pittsburgh fan, and right now I'm reeling. It's been a Chernobyl disaster the last 3 weeks. But, I had them picked to win their division and to make the AFC Championship game. But you know what? I'll be okay. We got this podcast. We got Big Daddy here. I've got my other website to write for. So you know what? If all else fails, I'll just be a 49ers fan and a Michigan fan because the Steelers look like crap. So I look like an idiot for picking them. You know what? I just look like a retard for picking them.
I feel great about it, man.
No, Luke, you didn't pick the Steelers, did you? Did you pick the Steelers?
You know what, man? In Big Ben, I trust. Even though that dude runs like an 8.7 40-yard dash now.
God.
I mean, that dude is the slowest guy I've ever seen, but yeah.
Ballsy move, man, to put your trust in somebody who's still on parole for statutory or whatever. But, hey, you know what? We're going to be all right. I'm excited to get into the podcast. I need to kind of sober up mentally after going through that disaster the last 3 weeks, 1-3 in Pittsburgh.
And speaking of parole, man, I'm about to be on parole when I physically assault Trent Cannon.
I guess we're getting into it.
Okay. Yeah, that's way ahead. I got way ahead of myself. I apologize. All right. Let's start from the top. Again.
Yeah.
The 49ers dropped another one this week. 28-21 to the Seattle Seahawks. It was at home. It was a very interesting game to say the least. And we're going to break the entire thing down. To begin, the defense to start the game was awesome, man. It was awesome. What do you guys think about the opening defense just throughout that first quarter? Because it was unreal. And I'll get into how good it was, but just give me some basic thoughts on how amazing that defense was at first.
Yeah, I want the Steelers fan to go first. So, Luke, give it a shot.
Yeah, man, it was amazing. I mean, that's the type of defense that you can win a Super Bowl off of. I'm sure we'll get into it more about just what happened, but the first quarter, man, was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, definitely so. Yeah. Just to go ahead and here's a crazy stat, and I didn't even put this together until I heard it afterwards. Seattle started the game with 5 straight 3-and-outs because of that defense. Nice. That is unreal, led by Russell Wilson. So to begin it, it was a 3-and-out. It was a third down. Russ missed DK Metcalf on a little out route on third down. And then to open the game, the 49ers got the ball. Jimmy Garoppolo was perfect. He was 5 for 5 for 65 yards. He only had one pass that was off. It was a screen to Debo, actually, and it was off, but it got called back. But then he throws a 21-yard touchdown to Ross Doyley. When he caught that touchdown, I saw it was a big dude, number 80. I thought it was George Kittle. And then I realized it said 82. I'm like, man, George Kittle still hasn't scored a touchdown. Isn't that crazy? 12 different players have scored for the 49ers this year. Well, I guess 13 now because I think Trey Lance had already scored. Okay, yeah, 12. None of them George Kittle. No, wild.
Yeah, it's wild stuff, man.
It is.
I'm glad a host like you is able to distinguish the difference between skinny Ross Dwelly and the elite George Kittle. But hey,
Okay.
Maybe George Kittle will score at least once this year. We'll see. But but no doubt, it's nice to see a backup long snapper like Ross Dwelly get a completion that turns into a touchdown for his first NFL. I believe it's actually his first NFL touchdown. So nice to see.
Very nice, very nice. So, and then obviously Seattle gets the ball back. The defense again is super active. They tried to throw a little screen pass to Tyler Lockett and ended up being a negative 2-yard gain. Dre Kirkpatrick was the man who got the tackle for a loss. No one expected that, right? And then I believe it was D Ford who got the sack on Russell Wilson on 3rd down. So again,
Sure did.
super active, 3 and out again. Offense gets the ball back. And Jimmy Garoppolo, he just had a perfect drive, and then he follows it up by there was probably about a 15-yard curl route to Debo. He throws it so high that Debo has to jump up and slap it so it's not an interception to the free safety in the back. And then 2 plays later, Jimmy Garoppolo throws a pick anyways.
It didn't matter.
Man, you cannot stop
It's
that
a
man, dude.
roller coaster.
No,
a
Jimmy
roller coaster,
Garoppolo. He's something. I don't want to tip the hand too early because there's some rants I'd like to go on here later as the episode rocks on. But no, those first couple of drives, man, it was literally, and I'll leave it at those 2 drives before I ramble further and make sure I leave it at that. But it was literally the epitome of Jimmy Garoppolo. The first drive looks like an elite quarterback. I mean, all the swag in the world, just looked like he was a chip on the shoulder, like Pro Bowler quarterback. And I'm not talking Mitch Trubisky Pro Bowler. I'm talking Tom Brady type of Pro Bowler, right? And then the next drive comes out and looks like absolute dog crap. And that's what we've seen from Jimmy Garoppolo over his entire tenure in San Francisco, or rather Santa Clara. But it's just very interesting, like you said. Debo has to tip the ball to keep it from being an interception, and there he goes throwing an interception there a couple plays later.
Yeah, and he was targeting George Kittle on that interception, and I've heard some people defend him, saying it looked like he was actually making multiple reads. He started to the left and then went to the middle, saw Kittle there, it looked to be open, and Diggs, what's his first name? I want to say Trayvon, but that's the Cowboys.
It's Quandre Diggs.
Quandre Diggs, thank you. Yeah, Quandre Diggs jumps the route. So I've heard people defend it, saying at least he was moving down his reads. That's what an NFL quarterback is supposed to do. We shouldn't.
That's what a high school quarterback's supposed to do.
Yeah, we shouldn't praise a turnover-worthy play just because before that he was acting like an NFL quarterback. I'm not trying to crush him, but actually I am. So, because that was a bad pick in my opinion.
A fair point. It was a horrible pass. Like you said, I don't know. I wouldn't give Trey Lance the benefit of the doubt, and I'm not going to make this a Trey Lance rant, but because I'm a ranty guy.
We'll see.
But yeah, there you go. But no, if Trey Lance made that play, I don't know if I'd give him the benefit of the doubt on it. Why in the heck should we give Jimmy Garoppolo that? He's what 8 years in. What are we doing here? I mean, literally, what are we doing here, man?
Absolutely, man.
He's an NFL quarterback. Make the read, do your job. Kyle Shanahan runs this offense. You don't. So why don't you deliver the ball where you're asked to? And if you don't, why don't you act like an NFL quarterback and make your second and third read and actually put it where you're supposed to? For crying out loud.
But even after that, they have good field position. Seattle does. The 49ers defense steps up again. And there's a 3rd and 7. And I was watching that play. And I saw Nick Bosa at the top of the screen. And he was lined up a little further along the edge than normal. I just had a feeling like it's going to be a speed rush around the end. And I think he's about to get a sack. And he did. Took him down. Another 3 and out, which was their 3rd in a row to start the game. 49ers get the ball back. and Jimmy looks like he's dealing. It makes no sense. He hits Kittle for 7 yards, a really nice throw to Ayuk for 15 yards, 14-yarder to Juwan Jennings, 26-yarder to Debo, but then he takes a sack. It's 3rd and 15. And here is where, as much advocating for Jimmy Garoppolo to start, Kyle Shanahan seems to have done, there's a 3rd and 15, and you don't even take a shot. It's a screen pass to George Kittle. It was super predictable. It didn't go anywhere. And then they attempted a 41-yarder with the punter. To me, those two plays, I mean, I think it shows a lack of trust from Kyle towards Jimmy Garoppolo. And then I don't know about trying that 41-yarder with the punter, man.
See, I don't even know if it tries the confidence of Kyle and Jimmy. I don't know if that play was even, I know it was a screen pass, but is that something that Jimmy took? Did he potentially have other reads off of that? Could that have been a misdirection? I don't know. And that play, people don't talk about this enough, but high school football, college football, NFL football, watching college football this past week, I can't tell you how many times Big Ten teams this past week, not to bring it back to Michigan, but where they were pinned inside their own 10, you don't always have to get a first down. You're playing for field position. You're playing to put the other team at a disadvantage. You don't always have to get the first down. Sometimes it's a positive to come short of the first down, but get more yardage. And in that instance, whether Kyle drew it up that way or not, Jimmy didn't necessarily hit George in a position. You and I have talked about this off air, Steve, how important it is to hit a receiver in stride on a screen pass on a bubble.
Yeah, absolutely.
He didn't hit George Kittle.
You're going to get to that later too.
No,
Great
yeah,
point.
we are. But he didn't hit him in a spot where George could use his momentum to carry him further. And maybe that wasn't a first down play, but especially for a guy like Wisnowski, who more than likely hasn't kicked field goals in his life other than in practice and other than in
maybe
team
not
scrimmages. No, I would assume he has. A lot of those guys cross-trained, but maybe if he has a 35-yarder and a 41-yarder is a heck of a lot different. And maybe that's what they were going for. But either way, Jimmy didn't hit him in stride. And you're putting a guy who hasn't been in that position in a position to get 3 points when your defense has been balling out and your quarterback sucks.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. Yeah, the 3rd and 15, and then that was rough. But the 49ers defense stepped up again, another 3 and out. But the 49ers offense doesn't do anything with it. Another 3 and out. The 49ers follow it up with their own 3 and out. So it's just back and forth crappy offense here.
Shocker.
But here, on the punt, the 49ers go 3 and out on the punt. Luke, can you remind me what old Trent Cannon decided to do when he recovered the punt at the 5-yard line?
Yeah, man, instead of, catching it at the 5-yard line, or even if you're trying to catch up to, stopping it, no, this joker, I guess he does catch it. You got to give him credit for the hands, man. He catches it, rolls into the end zone so they can get a touchback, man, ensured that they got to that 5-yard line. Yeah, it was tough, man. It was one of the worst special team plays I've seen in a while.
I know we'll get to it. It was horrible. I know we'll get to his other play later, but Trent Cannon literally cost them 14 points throughout this game. He's single-handedly responsible for 14 points.
He did.
You just spent 5 minutes, Stephen Ellis, talking about how awesome the defense was. Trent Cannon gave up more points in 2 special teams plays than the defense did all day. Had Trent Cannon not done that, the defense might not have given up the points that they did. It got so bad at one point. You're just throwing guys out there that have not fielded punts and kicks all year, but you have to put somebody out there because this guy sucks so bad.
You had to put Debo returning kicks later on in the game and you don't want to put someone that valuable.
No, he hasn't returned kicks in South Carolina. Mohamed Sanu has not returned kicks since I think they said his sophomore year. Or no, punt since his sophomore year. You're putting guys who have never, but you literally could not have this guy back there.
Yeah,
it's such a liability.
It was horrible. Yeah. And the crazy thing is, go ahead, Josh.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say that arguably that change should have been made after the first one. You could see that he was
Yeah.
rattled, and it's just putting a guy who has it's like putting a guy who just airballed the free throw back at the line. He's not going to hit back iron. He's going to airball another one. It's definitely not going to be a make. You can't put a guy back there again. But I digress.
No, especially after the second one, because there were 3 of them. So
Mhm.
yeah, we'll get to it. But what's very interesting when you consider that. So he does that. Imagine this scenario. You don't roll in the end zone and you pin him at the 1 or 2 yard line. Imagine how great that would be. But instead, what happens is they get the ball at the 20, and this is the drive that Seattle finally scores. So the drive that Seattle finally put points on the board, the defense finally let up. You cannot ask more out of the 49ers defense than what they did. This was a fantastic defensive performance all throughout that was wasted by stupid crap like this and stagnant offense in the first half, especially in the first half. So yeah, the defense was dominating, but they finally let up. Seattle ties the game. 49ers can't move the ball before halftime. It's 7-7 in a game where it feels like it should be 21-0. It was
No, and I can't tell you how many times, especially more so me and Luke being college football fans, you watch these SEC and especially Big Ten games, even more so than SEC, but where defenses are so dominant. I can't tell you how many times I've watched Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, LSU, Mississippi State, Arkansas, teams that have elite defenses keep their team in the game, and they're begging the offense to just, for the love of God, put points on the board, but they can't do it. And not even, let's just leave the points on the board aside. Sustain the drive. Give our defense a rest, for crying out loud. But they can't do it, and they won't do it. So what happens? That team that was in the game and trying to pull off the upset, they eventually get beat because the defense crumbles. People blame the defense. No, it was offense. They couldn't sustain drives. The same thing we saw. That 49ers defense, the 49ers defense didn't fold because they are horrible or they finally got beat. No, it was because they were exhausted from having to carry the team through the first quarter and a half or whatever. And then the only chance you have at points comes on a missed field goal, like we talked about earlier, from a punter who's never kicked a field goal in his life in a real game.
And let me ask you this, either one of you, if I told you before the game that in the first half, Seattle would have 6 offensive drives, 5 of them would be 3 and outs, 1 would be a scoring drive, would you guess that the game would be tied?
No, I wouldn't have.
No. But it was.
I would have thought,
because that's how bad the offense
14
was
to
outside
7
of the first drive.
14-3. No,
At
you're
least.
right. I would have thought it was at least a 1-score lead for the 49ers. And there's no way I think it was tied.
Yeah, right? I mean, unbelievable. Offense was super stagnant outside of that first drive. So they make the switch, even though they say Jimmy Garoppolo calf injury. What's funny is me and Luke on my Sunday ticket swapped over to the Rams Cardinals during halftime, and then you texted, and all I saw was a notification said, Jimmy's not getting this job back. I said, holy crap, we got to switch it back. I didn't realize it had started yet. And there he was, our boy. Well, Trey Lance, baby.
I'll save the rants for later.
Which, to be quite honest, the first 2 drives with Trey Lance, the first one, I didn't really like it. Sermon had a 15-yard run, so it was follow that to first down, 7-yard run, and then I think it was a negative 1-yard run. So it's 3rd and 4 here, and I thought this is nice. It's a nice little spot for Trey Lance. Maybe you can do a little rollout, boot action, something. There's a halfback, there's a quarterback draw. I didn't like that at 3rd and 4, to be honest.
Didn't either.
That was predictable because that's all that at this point in time. That's really all you've seen Trey Lance do.
Like
and
I said,
that's what you pull on 3rd and 4.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm trying to keep my mouth shut because I'm going to go off after we finish this game review. But that play in particular, and especially combined with the rest of the series we're going to talk about with Trey Lance. It really seemed like, unfortunately, that it was insertion of necessity, not want,
Yeah.
of Trey Lance that literally, as much as we've talked about it and wondered, and Steve and I have speculated, even with Luke on the pod, we've done this, whether Trey Lance would start or not, or, what plays he might have drawn up for him in the game plan. This game plan was clearly designed for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Absolutely.
There was no way around it. And the fact that he came into the game, there's, I've seen some conspiracy theories. I've even touted them on my own with that was an opportunity for Trey to come in the game once Jimmy even showed one sign of being hurt. But that game plan was designed for Jimmy, and Kyle wasn't going to change anything up for Trey. And that's unfortunate, really, because, like we said, running a quarterback draw on 3rd and 4 when the previous plays you've run have all been runs, I don't know if that's the position that you're expecting them to be in. And especially when the defense knows that you're not trusting your rookie quarterback, they're already gaming for it, man. They already know what's coming. They already had 2 defensive tackles on the field. They weren't in a 4-2-5. They were in a 4-3-2 defense or whatever, and or not a 4-3-2, a 4-3-4 defense, and they stuffed their run. So you're not putting your quarterback in a position to succeed.
No, that's true. Also, side note, I just noticed that you changed your name to Little Daddy.
Sure did. I'm Luke's son, and he owns me. Luke is a wise man. Unfortunately, I picked, as I said at the outset, the Steelers to get the AFC Championship. Luke has been he's been right from the start. So
here we go again.
I'm Luke's son in that regard. I mean, you noticed it now.
Oh gosh. Oh man. All right. So that drive didn't work
Steelers
out.
fan on the 49ers podcast. Go ahead.
That's true. That's very nice. That drive didn't work out. The defense actually gets another stop. But that next drive for Trey Lance is pretty rough. Luke, what did you think of that drive?
Oh man, it was terrible, man. I was literally ready to give up the season, man, because you can't do nothing with Jimmy G and freaking Trey Lance can't kill 5 yards away. I mean, he can't even hit his feet. It's like, golly. But anyway, it's all right. I had time to process, but in the moment, I was like, man, it's over. We're done. We're gone.
To be quite honest with you, at that moment, me, who's someone who's so high on Trey Lance before the draft, and as you know, I was pretty anti Mac Jones. You're an Alabama fan, so you kind of wanted an Alabama quarterback to root for, at least in some of the process. I wonder if at that point you were thinking, why didn't we get Mac Jones? Did that occur to you at all, or did my brain go to the worst spot?
So honestly, I still like Mac Jones a lot. I know he's in the perfect situation, but he actually does a really good job of making different reads and putting the ball where it needs to be. And until I see that from Trey Lance, not even so much as making different reads, but just throwing an accurate ball.
Yeah.
Well,
here's a fun fact for you. Mac Jones' average completion's under 10 yards. Trey Lance's average completion's over 10 yards.
Here we go.
I
wasn't trying to start this debate.
I am starting it. Turn it out, Luke. This is your own dang fault, Steve. Mac Jones, like Luke said, is put in a position to succeed. Trey Lance was put in a position to succeed if his name was Jimmy Garoppolo Lance, not Trey Lance. So, you got 2 different situations. If you could, for the love of God, draw up a game plan that revolves around Trey Lance's abilities, then sure, go for it. But I don't know. I know Luke's a Bama fan. I try not to crap on him too much, but still feel like that's the right pick despite everything.
Well, let me throw this in there, and I'll openly admit it, and Luke already knows it, but I'm a lot higher on Trey Lance than I am Mac Jones as the 49ers quarterback of the future. But right now, and I mean, I think Mac Jones is a better still accurate thrower. And that's part of it. I mean, we knew that coming in. And one of the things that me and Josh talked about in our little bonus episode last week, I have my own quarterback evaluations, and I had accuracy on there. And I had Trey Lance as 5th of the 5 guys on accuracy, but I'm still highest on him because I think that's something that can be fixed. but I don't think you can make Mac Jones 6'4", 230 and freakishly athletic with a rocket arm. But Josh Allen is living proof that you can improve mightily on accuracy. He was a disaster his first 2 seasons in the NFL. Dak Prescott was an inaccurate thrower coming in. Look at him now. He's fantastic. Accuracy is something I think it's been proven you can work on that. So I like the natural abilities, raw talent that Trey Lance has, along with his desire to get better. And I feel really confident that he's going to become a lot more of an accurate thrower. But right now, especially then, the kid, he looked rattled. He didn't expect to come in this game. And at first, he looked rattled. And he threw some really crappy passes. I don't think he's going to be hitting or throwing passes to guys' feet very often. That was a hyperbole of the inaccuracy that he at times has, I think. Because, I mean, and I know NFL fans say this all the time, and it's stupid and it's goofy and it's been proven wrong so many times when they say, man, I could have done that. But all 3 of us would have made that throw. Maybe not on that stage. Maybe not. But the point is, that was a hyperbole of how inaccurate he can be. He was nervous. He messed up. He threw a horrible pass. And the next pass, even on 3rd down, was a bad pass. The kid looked nervous. He looked rattled on his first drive. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know?
And I don't want to derail this any further from our game review, but just one last point I'd like to make on it. If you're a 49ers fan, one of our 3 fans who's wanting to compare Mac Jones to Trey Lance, you're not doing either one of them justice. Trey Lance is not put in a position to succeed, and Mac Jones is. Mac Jones is what Jimmy Garoppolo is what Mac Jones hopes to be, being a quarterback who delivers the ball where the offense tells him to, and that's about it, in my opinion. He doesn't have a rocket arm. He's not insanely accurate. He just delivers the ball where they tell him to. He doesn't always hit his receiver in stride, but he hits him in an area at least where the receiver can make adjustments to it and catch the ball. And unfortunately, we didn't see the best from Trey Lance. Hopefully, if Jimmy Garoppolo is out for this game against Arizona, as it looks like he might be, hopefully the game plan will be drawn around Trey Lance and he's not put in a position where he's thrown to the wolves, and the week in practice and the scrimmages are built around him and his abilities, and the game plan is built around him and his abilities to where he can go out and shine. Hopefully that's what happens.
Go ahead, Luke.
No, I was just gonna say my part of it. I feel like Mac Jones is just a more polished guy. Trey Lance is definitely more dynamic, has more potential, but I feel like he's in a pretty good situation under Kyle Shanahan as well to succeed. So it's not like, and even if he's bad as a rookie, I don't really care, because a lot of these rookies are playing bad. I mean, look at Zach Wilson. That dude sucks. I mean, he's worse than the whole Steelers team. One guy. I mean, he's the worst quarterback I've ever seen. So as long as he's better than Zach Wilson, dude, I feel like it's a W. Which, I mean,
well, guess what? It turns out he's not better than Zach Wilson.
Oh God, here
Mac
we go.
Jones is not better than Zach Wilson. Mac Jones played on a 5-star talented team and plays for the most historical franchise in the NFL. I don't know what we've done, but either way, we've just completely subtracted from the second half of the game. We've completely derailed the podcast, as always, because I'm literally about to jump through this MacBook, humble brag, and punch Luke in the face. Turn your hat around forwards like a man and let me beat the crap out of you.
Backwards hat guy. What were you about to say, Luke?
The first half was the worst football I've seen the 49ers play.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Does that make sense?
It was truly extraordinary.
Yeah. How do we play so well and we're tied? But anyway, that was the sum of the first half.
I agree with you, buddy. I agree with you, Big Daddy. Little Daddy.
It's very true. Yeah. All right, moving on from the rookie quarterback comparisons, because your guys' opinions on it is trash, mine is elite. So there's no point in talking
Nobody cares
about
about
this.
you, Steve.
Zach Wilson's comparisons.
Mac Jones sucks.
Technically, okay, last point, and then we're moving on, all right? Technically, Trey Lance has had 0 turnovers and extremely high touchdown percentage. Max touchdown INT ratio is 1-1, 4-4. Zach Wilson's is 1-2, 4-8. Trevor Lawrence's is, I think, 5-9. So
Sorry, Steve. I was muted when he said Zach Wilson. What was that? I didn't hear you.
4-8. So he's
I'm
got
sorry, I
double
didn't
the
hear you.
turnover.
I didn't hear you.
You're muting yourself.
No, I'm not. Are you kidding me? I'm not muting anything. Well,
No,
just move on.
never mind.
Move on to the
All right,
second
all right, we're
half.
moving on.
Let me
We're moving
let me
on.
go on a rant for the love
I
of
already
God.
started the second half, and you guys went off the freaking rails.
Finish the game then. For God Almighty, we know we lost.
Okay.
Let's wrap it up.
All right. So we just talked about that horrible drive. Trey Lance, 2 horrible passes. And then Seattle scores on the next drive. Defenses wore out. You know, they played about as good as a game as you can ask, and they score again. And Trent Cannon, good God, man, fumbles not but twice in one kick return.
Yep.
How do you even manage to do that? He fumbled it, picked it up, dove on it, and fumbled it. I've never
We talked
seen
about it earlier. We talked about it earlier, and when I say we, I mean me. He single-handedly cost them 14 points, man. Single-handedly
He did.
gave them 14 points.
Well, we're not done, buddy. We'll get there. But we're
I'm going to
not
say
done.
it again in a minute. Get the Trent
Right.
Cannon again. I'm ready.
So, okay, yeah. He fumbles, which gives them – Seattle get the ball – the 49ers 14-yard line. So they score quickly. There we go. And here we go. The next kickoff, Trent Cannon once again. What in the world? The ball is going to
14
land.
points.
Oh, yeah. Well, he contributed to the points there. But the ball's going to land on the 2-yard line. So he just assumes it's going to go in the end zone, right? Which that happens a lot. But you don't do that on kickoff returns. You only do that on punt returns. He assumes it's going to stop there. It bounces forward. So he has to dive on the 11-yard line. Fortunately, it wasn't a turnover, but it was just completely stupid in his third awful play in special teams.
See, I disagree with you on that, Steve. I don't think he was thinking it was going to stop. I think he thought it was going in the end zone. You could tell. The way he put his arms up in the air. You see so many college guys and NFL guys do that. He went like they do like the fourth quarter thing where they put their fists in the air like four.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing. He went like that, like it was going in the end zone. You see so many returners do that in the NFL and in college, and most of the time, the same thing that happened with Trent Cannon, it goes in the end zone. Mm-hmm. That time it didn't. You could tell it was like, oh crap, I didn't jump on it. I didn't fair catch it. Had he just caught it and returned it, had he just let it go and recovered or whatever, it had happened, it would not have been as bad of a result as what had happened. Yeah. But you could tell it was like an oh crap moment for him where he just misjudged that ball.
Absolutely. So the 49ers have crappy field position because of that. But despite that, there was a 3rd and 1. They do the quarterback draw on a 3rd and 1. That is where I approve of the quarterback draw. And it works. Next play. Completely blown coverage. Nobody within 25 yards of Deebo Samuel. And Trey Lance you can tell in his mind, he's like, just don't overthrow it because he is so wide open. So he just laid it on him. And I appreciate that, honestly, about that throw. So everybody says he was just sitting there, which is true. But I appreciate that. Just throw it where he's at. No need to try to even lead him at that point. That was actually a smart play. Just let Deebo get under it, and he's got it, man.
How many times do you see college and NFL quarterbacks, aside from the elites, lead a wide receiver on a wide open pass that either results in 1, a drop to an incompletion where he overthrows him, or 3, he has to reach out for the ball and stumbles before he can score? It happens all the time.
Yeah.
We've talked about this off air, but I can think of many times where we've played, pickup football or flag football or whatever, and the first thing you think of is hit the guy when you throw it. It's the first natural instinct. You don't have to lead the guy. If he's that wide open, he'll make a play. That's what Trey Lance did, and that's a really underappreciated quality. You don't have to lead him in stride when he's that wide open. Just hit him. Don't overthrow it. Don't overthink it.
Exactly. Just worst thing you can do right there is overthrow it.
The worst thing you can do is try to do the right thing, which is lead a guy, which is what you're trained to do. And almost always that results in an incompletion. It's the same thing as in basketball. Having all the time in the world to shoot an open jump shot, you're going to miss it once you start thinking about it. Just have your natural reaction, throw it. That's what he did.
Yeah, no, that it was good. So after that touchdown, they line up to go for 2 because Robbie Gould is hurt. So I've seen a lot of people criticize Kyle Shanahan for kicking the extra point here, but like, well, no, there was a false start, so he wasn't going to go for 2 if it's at the 7-yard line. So obviously at that point you kick the extra point. Wisnowski missed it again. He's a friggin' punter. What do you expect?
Mm-hmm.
So, but that was not on Shanahan. I've seen some people put that on Shanahan. That was on whatever offensive lineman got the false start. I forgot to write it, so I don't know. It was probably McGlinchey.
We'll get to him in a minute.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so at that point, it's 21-13 due to the missed extra point. The 49ers defense lets up again. Seattle takes it down the field. They're probably gassed from that awful first half where they had to play like, yeah, you know. So at that point, they score. Seattle does. 14-yard touchdown by Alex Collins. We talked about him a few weeks ago, Josh. That dude who appeared on Baltimore like 5 years ago out of nowhere. It looks like he walked out of some random alleyway from between 2 dumpsters.
No, I remember drafting Alex Collins in fantasy. He was the stud out of Arkansas. Brett Bielema was there, former Wisconsin disgraced coach, and kicked out of town and sent to Arkansas. And Alex Collins was his stud, and he never worked out in Baltimore. And here he is, overweight and out of shape, and succeeding in Seattle. So you love to see it. Another Seattle running back who just shows up out of nowhere and dominates.
Out of nowhere. It's crazy.
I'm just glad that this is a Seahawks podcast because we can appreciate a guy like Alex Collins. Seahawks and Seahawks.
Very true. Very true. Very true. So it's 28-13, 2-possession game. At that point, the 49ers and Seahawks, they just swapped 3 and outs. So here, with 4:30 left, this is where I think we see the special talent of Trey Lance on this final drive. And I'm just going to go through all of it, and you guys can make comments afterwards. I'm just going to go through all of it. 1st and 10. Hits Juszczyk on a nice rollout for 14 yards. By the way, Juszczyk wanted all the smoke on that. He could have just went out of bounds. He decided to dive into the defender just for some extra contact. It was awesome. So 1st down again. There's a little screen for Kyle Juszczyk. He goes 10 yards, so 2 in a row. Another 1st down. A 7-yard scramble for Lance on a play where I think Jimmy Garoppolo gets sacked on that. He juked a linebacker. He crossed the line of scrimmage about 3 yards, juked a linebacker, got about 4 more, so 7 yards. 2nd and 3, evades another sack because Carlos Dunlap had his arm on him, but he evades it and on the run to his right, fires a little dart to Mohamed Sanu for 12 yards. That was a really nice play. 1st and 10, holding on McGlinchey. 1st and 20. That dude, Trey Lance, threw a laser to Deebo Samuel. It was right in the chest, perfect, about 18 yards, just on a rope, man. But it was too contested. Somebody was right on his back. Deebo couldn't come down with it. So 2nd and 20. He throws a 12-yard curl route. That was actually less accurate. It was a little low, but Deebo caught it anyways. 3rd and 8. He throws a quick 7-yard curl route. I think it was to Sanu. They got 4th and 1. And they call it illegal shifting. So now it's 4th and 6. He connects with Sanu on a 7-yard in route. Nice, accurate little throw. He looked comfortable in the pocket. It was nice. 1st and 10, nothing was available. He threw it out of bounds. 2nd and 10, this was, in my opinion, his best throw of the night. 2nd and 10, he throws it from about the 30-yard line, right over the middle to George Kittle in the end zone. It would have been Kittle's first touchdown. It was right over both defenders. Perfectly placed, fantastic throw. But Adams came and hit Kittle midair, made him drop it. 3rd and 10 was a miscommunication between him and Deebo. It just went in the grass, basically. But 4th and 10, that was special, man. That 4th and 10 was awesome. He evades the edge rusher, and then the defensive tackle from the interior comes, jukes him out, and just takes off. My headphones died. That was very interesting.
Nice one, Jimmy.
You guys can hear me, right? Okay. Very nice. So, all right. He evades that. And then, Josh, I want your thoughts on this, the screen pass to
An
Debo.
underappreciated play. Of course, Debo kind of had to go up for it. But the issue with that, so many college quarterbacks and NFL quarterbacks you see time and time again, they do not lead the wide receiver when they throw the football. They hit him in the numbers, and that turns what could be a 10-yard play into a 2-yard play. You have to lead the screen in stride. Whether they kind of have to make an adjustment to it or not is not as important to me. Is the fact that they didn't have to stop their momentum to come back and get the ball. And that's how Trey Lance hit him. I have not seen Jimmy hit that throw, even watching his college tape. He tends to hit guys right in the numbers, and that's perfectly fine when he's on. But especially in the screen game, you want to hit a guy when he's got his forward momentum, because he's not only going to be able to have a higher chance of shedding blocks, but he's going to have a better chance to turn that play downfield, get some additional yardage before the defensive ends and linebackers can collapse on him. That's exactly what Trey did when throwing to Debo on that play.
It's perfect, and that's a lot harder than people think too.
It's
Screen
exactly.
pass
It's
looks
so much
like an
harder.
easy pass, but it's really not if you're throwing it the right way.
Arguably, the screen pass and not just a screen pass, that was a bubble screen, but
Yeah,
either bubble screen or screen pass and a slant across the middle are the hardest plays in football to hit, even more so than back shoulder, because you have to put in a spot where not only is your guy the only one getting it, but also just leading him in a way where he can keep his stride going. It's the difference between a first down and a potential 2-3 yard gain. How many times do we see slants run short of the first down, bubble screens, halfback screens run short of the first down? Almost all of them do. You have to hit the guy in stride, and that's a very underappreciated quality. Exactly what Trey did on that play.
Yep. They went for two. It was just a quarterback draw. It worked. Short goal line situations, that play is awesome. That was the game, though. Seattle just ended up running out the clock after that. Final score 28-21. Final thoughts.
I've got a lot of places to start. I guess I'll start with McGlinchey and offensive line.
Okay. Yeah.
McGlinchey can't block. You've got a lot of issues with him. Between him and Alex Mack, I know you and I talked about it off air, Steve, and I don't want to take words out of your mouth, but you think back to that 2018 draft, they took McGlinchey number 9 overall over guys like Minka, Vita Vea, Derwin James, Jair Alexander, who was rated by PFF, the number 1 cornerback this last year, and Frank Ragnow, who was the highest paid center in football, is exactly the position they need. That's arguably worse to me than them taking Solomon Thomas over Pat Mahomes, Marshawn Lattimore, Deshaun Watson, Jamal Adams in 2017.
Yeah, because we didn't know Pat Mahomes was who he is.
No, we didn't. But even those other guys.
Even I knew freaking Minka Fitzpatrick was a star.
Yeah. For several years, Minka Fitzpatrick was the number 1 safety in football, and he probably still is. He's definitely up there right now. So arguably taking McGlinchey at 9, he's got so many issues. You think about all the pressures. You and I talked about this off air too, and now mentioning in front of Luke. How many times you watch football and you notice the offensive line? You should notice them rarely, if not at all, because they're doing their job. You're not watching number 69 at right tackle saying, man, he's doing a good job. You don't give a crap about him. You're watching the running back, the quarterback, the wide receivers, and the tight end. These are the guys getting the ball.
There are 2 positions in football where the less you hear a guy's name, generally the better they're playing. Cornerback and offensive line.
And that's exactly the issue with Mike McGlinchey, is we watched him all day get blown up by Carlos Dunlap. He was getting his lunch ate by Dunlap. You just think about the value that you took him at number 9, a guy who isn't even an elite run blocker and definitely can't pass block. That's a shame. And then you think too, we talked last week about Alex Mack getting worked against the Packers.
Yeah.
Man, he got worked again today too. He worked him last week, and then this week too. Puna Ford, man, he worked Alex Mack. Like I said last week, I'll say the same this week. I really thought he was going to have a kind of a redemption year, being on a legit team. But man, he does look over the hill, and it's a shame, especially when you think back to, like I mentioned, the 2018 draft. You could have had a guy like Frank Ragnow, who's
Yeah.
the highest paid center in football, although he's hurt right now. He's a legit offensive lineman, and now
Absolutely.
you're stuck with an over the hill Alex Mack, and it's a shame.
I know we're,
Definitely the offensive line in general, they really struggled.
I know we're not really supposed to talk about it because, we have a pact to make fun of the Bears for it because,
Mhm.
the 49ers had the number 2 pick, pretended that they were going to take old Mitch Trubinsky and said, yeah, we'll give you the number 2 for the 3 and the 31st. And man, they robbed the Bears, right? They blew both picks though. With Solomon Thomas and Reuben Foster. They blew both of them, and people don't ever talk about that. Thank goodness. We continue just making fun of the Bears instead. But man, what could have been one of the most amazing trade moves ever. They blew it.
Dude, even if you don't take Pat Mahomes or Deshaun Watson,
I wanted
just
Jamal
think about
Adams.
some of well, and exactly like you said, think about some of the other issues that the 49ers have. God, where's that on my list here? But yeah, and you just think about Jamal Adams, Pat Mahomes, Marshawn Lattimore, a legit lockdown cornerback.
Yeah.
That's the biggest need on the team right now, arguably. And Deshaun Watson, man, it's tough. It's a tough look. People forget about that, And then, like I said earlier, taking McGlinchey over guys like Minka, Vita Vea, Kerwin James, Jair Alexander, Frank Ragnow, that's tough, man. It's too bad. It's too bad back-to-back drafts that are showing their colors right now in San Francisco.
It's true, man. Yeah. They missed on a lot of really good players right after him. I would have loved to have Jair Alexander on this 49ers team.
Arguably the biggest position in need right now, defensive back.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. I know it's easy for us to say in hindsight, but even at that time, we were confused by the Solomon Thomas pick and the McGlinchey pick. We were kind of okay, it's all right, I guess. I feel like even as just random goobers with no credentials whatsoever, we could have drafted better in those early rounds.
Yep. Yeah, and it just kind of comes back to, especially in this draft, how many quarterbacks were available. Obviously, Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence going ahead of Trey Lance, but Mac Jones and Justin Fields on the board. Our feelings are pretty strong on both of those. You and I talked about that last week, Steve. Luke just went on the Mac Jones rant about 20 minutes ago. But really, I mean, not to crap on anybody, you really got to hope this hits, man. Because if you don't, then that's 2017 Solomon Thomas, 2018 Mike McGlinchey, 2019 Reuben Foster, 2020 Javon Kinlaw, and then 2021 Trey Lance. Man, it's a tough look, man. You got to hope the Trey Lance pick hits, because if not, you got a serious issue with not only first round picks, but just the things Trey gives you in the passing game over Jimmy. You got to put him in a position to succeed, man. We talked about this before off air. We talked about it between us three many times. It's like they've put their entire future investment into Trey Lance. You got to hope this hits, because their track record of first round picks is not good.
Nope.
As high as we are on them, it's not good. You got to hope they change the momentum over the last 4 years and hit on them.
Before we briefly talk about the Arizona game coming up, which are 4-0 and looking really good, just briefly, I want to mention, I see some 49ers fans calling for Kyle Shanahan to be on the hot seat. That's the dumbest thing imaginable right now.
Mm-hmm.
He did not put in a great game plan for Trey Lance at first coming into the second half. I don't care. Think about the guys we had before Kyle Shanahan and just appreciate what you have right now. Because if you start putting that guy on the hot seat, the guy that they end up with next, if you're not satisfied with Kyle Shanahan, you're never going to be satisfied. He's not perfect. I blamed him for last week's loss. And I didn't love the game plan for Trey Lance coming into the second half, but I just want to throw that out there because I've seen some people calling for his head, and I think that's just utterly ridiculous.
No, you're right. And And if you don't mind, just one more thing I'd like to mention about just in conjunction with that. I'd like to touch on Trey Lance here in a second. But with Kyle, he does have some time management issues. He does have a kind of a conservative approach oftentimes, but he's a legit NFL coach, and he's not going anywhere until it's fully determined whether or not Trey Lance is going to work out.
Absolutely.
John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan have hinged their future on Trey Lance. That's why they took him. If you thought for 1 second Justin Fields or Mac Jones was going to be your starting quarterback for the next 10 years, you would have taken them because that's what their jobs are bet on right now. Is succeeding. Jim Harbaugh got you to the Super Bowl and he's gone. Kyle Shanahan got you to the Super Bowl, and if he doesn't get back there, he's probably going to be gone too. So they're hinging their future on Trey Lance. But the one thing I'll mention about Trey, I know we'll get into the Arizona game. I don't want to touch on the game plan too much, but what Trey Lance does give you, and what I would have liked to have seen in this last game, is almost a complete commitment to the run game. The fact we saw Sermon bust out, 5-10 yards of carry on Trey Lance's first couple of series is indicative of the conflict he puts the defense in as a running quarterback. Whether he keeps it or not, he's putting the defense in conflict, and that opens up everything else in the offense. If you want to run it 100 times a game, that's perfectly fine. But with Trey Lance back there, you're going to get positive yardage. If Jimmy's back there, you're not. So that's one thing I'd like to see going forward is Kyle having a commitment to Trey Lance, causing conflict to the opposing defense in the run game. Just having him back there with the legit running back causes so many issues. It opens up the entire rest of the offense.
Absolutely, and that needs to be implemented in this next week, especially to keep that boy Kyler Murray off the field. Luke, we jokingly say Luke's Cardinals just because he was so high on him coming into the year. Well, after week one. But looking at the Arizona team, you've watched them more than I have. What scares you about this Arizona team?
I felt like they always had a decent offense with Kyler Murray. And, adding guys like Hopkins and stuff only made them that much better. But getting J.J. Watt and did they snag somebody else?
A.J. Green, who quietly has 6 targets each game throughout the season.
Yeah.
Leading the team.
But the corner Byron Murphy is playing fantastic right now.
Yep.
Yeah, the defense is actually what makes me afraid.
Yeah,
They're
going to have offense, but actually adding the defense to it, man, that they look legit.
What's interesting to me, as far as the defense, is it's funny. You watched them against Tennessee, which is probably their best defensive performance thus far.
Was.
And what I have watched, funny enough, was the Minnesota game, which when I watched, Minnesota was doing whatever they wanted without any resistance, it seemed like. It's funny. I feel like you've probably watched the best defensive performance, and I probably watched the worst one. So I don't know what the mean is because they played well against the Rams too, man. So, I mean, you got to take that into consideration. Although I kind of think the Rams were a little high off of beating Tampa Bay. And I am not implying that Arizona they're frauds or anything like that. I do. They're a lot better than I anticipated. They were close against Jacksonville too. I feel like they've had 2 great performances, and then they were lucky to come out with wins twice. So I'm curious to see. This is going to be a test for the 49ers especially. But I definitely think they need to do exactly what Josh was explaining. They need to rely on that run game. And I think with Trey Lance, it can get going again because it hasn't been explosive like it was last year thus far. But I think having Trey Lance in there, just that fear of him keeping the ball and running the opposite direction, I think it can get it going. And I think they can run the ball on Arizona's defense if they commit to that. And keeping Kyler Murray off of the field is great for them. Bad for my fantasy team, unfortunately. But I would choose the Niners over my fantasy team any day.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. It's something my grandpa and every other old timer always says, every other boomer always says, oh man, time of possession wins the game. No, it doesn't. But in this game, it very well might. in most football games, time of possession does not win the battle. It's how many times you get up and down the field. But 49ers are not going to win in a shootout with Arizona. What they're going to win on is Trey Lance controlling the clock, controlling the time of possession, keeping the Cardinals off the field as long as possible, and capitalizing on their drives. And part of that is establishing the run early, even if it's a quarterback run. We're not even talking about read option stuff. We're talking about quarterback power up the middle to the edge, opposite of McGlinchey, for the love of God. Go Trent Williams' side for once if he's healthy. But you got to keep control of the clock. You got to be in control of the game. Because if you're just going to put Kyler Murray out there in a shootout, he's going to beat you every time. That's his go-to. You've got to put him in a position to play from behind. Because if he's playing with a lead, Cliff Kingsbury runs an air raid offense. People talk about the spread. It's just putting 5 guys out there. An air raid offense is different. It's consistently running vertical routes. It's consistently putting your running back in the passing game rather than just between the tackles. And that's what we're going to see. So the less you can put them in a position to do that, the more so the defense can pin their ears back and get after Kyler. If you're just going to be in a shootout with them, it's not going to be advantageous to their success.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Oh.
Let me ask you guys something.
Sure.
As far as the Seahawks game, the defense played really well to start.
Mm-hmm.
But then the Seahawks finally were able to start driving on them. And I don't feel like there was a lot of snap counts. Like, I don't feel like there was that many plays from the Seahawks for them to be worn out, but maybe they were. Do you think they just got tired, or do you think the Seahawks schemed up something to get past them a little bit?
Let me jump.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, let me jump on this one real quick. I think even if the snap count wasn't that high, I think starting out with 5 3-and-outs,
mentally,
honestly, yeah, I think it's hard to keep up that level of intensity the entire game. Seattle only has 7 points in the first half, as you mentioned. They did give up a touchdown drive where Seattle had to go 80 yards following the Trent Cannon rolling in the end zone. But right after that, it was the fumble, and they only had to go 14 yards.
Yep.
It was right after that. So, I mean, if Trent Cannon plays like a normal human being and doesn't do that weird crap, defense probably isn't giving up 28 points, honestly. So even though they gave up 21 in the second half, I think if special teams wasn't so awful, they would have played a lot better. And even this, in the second half, the 49ers started. Again, we talked about Trey Lance had a rough start. He had 2 3-and-outs. One was because I think it was a bad call on third down, but the other one, he was throwing the ball pretty poorly. That starting the second half, that's 2 3-and-outs where the defense doesn't get to sit. Even on the next drive, it was 3 plays, a 76-yard touchdown. So that's the equivalent time-wise to another 3-and-out. So even when the 49ers scored a touchdown there, the first 4 drives for the 49ers were all really short offensively. So I don't think the defense got a break. I don't think the defense is not to blame at all to me.
No, I agree with
Even
you. Sorry. No, I just to throw this in on Luke quick. No, I agree with you, Steve. Whether or not the defense was tired, I don't think matters. It's the fact of how demoralizing it is, and that's another issue. Bringing it back to the quarterback is I've seen it time and time again. Being a Michigan fan, how many times the defense has been elite and the offense has been stagnant. You can just see and feel from being at the game or watching on TV on the sideline how demoralized the defense is having to trot back out there and feel like the game depends on it. To feel like for the team to win, they have to create a turnover. They have to have a defensive touchdown. I can't tell you how many times I've seen it. I've talked to former players. I've talked to former coaches, current players and things regarding this stuff and written articles about it. And it's exactly the same thing that we're seeing in San Francisco right now, or Santa Clara right now. The defense feels like, I would imagine, they're put in a position where they feel like each possession they've got to play perfect. And even on top of that, if you're going to the free throw line, expecting to hit 10 shots in a row, knowing you have to hit 10 shots in a row, the pressure that puts on you has got to be insurmountable. Same thing the defense is going through right now. To feel like they have to carry the game because they have an incompetent quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo who can't sustain drives has got to be a serious issue. And before he even went out of the game, you could just feel it watching the game that after every stop, Seattle was throwing another punch at him and hitting him with the counter, hitting him with the hook.
Yeah.
And it finally started to wear on him just because it's like, when are we going to get some help from our offense? And when Trey Lance finally came in the game and produced down the stretch, the defense stepped up. Whether or not Seattle was trying to kill the clock or not, the defense stepped up and they shut Seattle down. If it wasn't for the onside kick not being recovered, they'd have a chance to maybe win the game or tie the game. So it's unfortunate, but I do think that's a big thing is, like you said, snap count really, or like Luke said, rather, the snap count really wasn't high. But I think more so, in my opinion, it's kind of a demoralizing thing, when you've got a quarterback who isn't sustaining drives back there and you feel like everything's on you. I've seen not just with Michigan and other college teams, it just and NFL teams, it just seems like when a defense is put in a position to feel like they have to carry the team, it's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I don't think it's their fault. It was just something that I'm going to keep an eye out for.
Yeah.
Are people able to figure out this defense and scheme against it, or are they going to be, one of the top defenses for the rest of the year? Because I feel like I saw both defenses a little bit, so
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out which one is going further. And Russell Wilson made like one of his classic miraculous turnaround
Yeah, he did.
passes in the corner of the end zone. So
God,
got to get one of those a game from Russell Wilson.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Against the 49ers.
No, and one thing we saw last year and then the previous years under Robert Saleh, the 49ers were the heaviest man blitz defense on third down. They manned up. They went zero coverage, which is the old Baltimore Ravens, Ray Lewis style defense where we're just going to guys on an island. We're going to bring the house at you and try to beat us. I dare you. This year, we haven't seen that as much. It's been a lot more zone stuff. It's been a lot less aggressive. And, maybe that's the reason we're seeing some of this stuff. It is a different philosophy. People talk about that a lot, this year compared to last year as far as the defensive philosophy, but it's true. The principles are the same, but especially on third down, man, you are not seeing near as many Dr. Blitz-esque stuff that we saw from Saleh over the past several years. And that's a big one, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's true. I still think they have a really good defense. Honestly, I thought it was going to be worse once Barrett went down, but the corners have held up better than I expected. Mosley has been really good. I can't complain. He's really stepped up, man. But it'll be a really interesting game. The Cardinals are favored. The line is at 5.5 right now. It's funny, next week, the Browns are favored against the Cardinals next week. So that should be interesting too. So the Cardinals have two big games coming up. As a division rival, I'm hoping they drop both of them, but we'll see. But Josh, I think it's time we wrap this thing up, man. We didn't really talk about it beforehand, but you got a fact of the week for us, man?
I do, man. And I'll add in before I add the fact, I do think the 49ers win this week. But my fact of the week.
Oh, it's cool.
I think would you like to go to a score prediction before I give you the fact of the week?
Let's run through score predictions real quick.
Let's do it. Steve,
right.
Go first.
Okay. 23-29ers.
All right. I will also be a homer, and I will go Trey Lance starts, claims the job, 27-17 49ers.
Ooh.
Shut down Kyler Murray, keep control of the clock.
I'm going a close one. I think the Cardinals are going to take it 30-24.
Keep kicking the heck out of the chat. Steve.
Sorry, man.
Uninvited.
Steelers, let's go.
Next week, though, I'm calling it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Browns are going to be next week. But no, I do think one thing I'll mention before we conclude, I do think Trey Lance takes the job this week.
Me too.
It's unfortunate, but you cannot give the job to a rookie quarterback and take it back, man. You just can't do it. You can't do it to a guy that it's his job and waiting. Everybody knows it. We saw it with Justin Fields and Andy Dalton. Justin Fields was just named the starting quarterback this week, and he sucked the last couple of weeks. You cannot give the job to a rookie and take it back. It kills his confidence. I don't care what Kyle says. If he gives the job to Jimmy again, this thing's over with. You've got to give it to Trey, and I really think this is the week he claims it, whether it's in the run game, the pass game, both. Feels like a good opportunity for him to claim.
He would have to be astronomically horrible, and I don't think that's going to happen. Even then, it would be borderline questionable. But no,
and I don't think he's going to be any worse than what Jimmy's been. One point I wanted to mention earlier, which is as good a time as any. Jimmy's not giving you what Trey gives you in the run game, and what he's giving you in the pass game is the same as what Trey's giving you in the pass game. If Kyle trusts Jimmy if Kyle trusts Jimmy to be consistent, then you might as well trust Trey to be consistent because they're both the same.
Yeah. One last point, and then we'll do the fact of the week. But
all right.
I've wanted Jimmy Garoppolo to succeed. He's had many opportunities, but it's either been inconsistencies or injuries.
Yep.
Last game against Seattle should be Jimmy Garoppolo's last game starting for the San Francisco 49ers. But we'll see what happens. All right, Josh, give me your fact. I got to plug in my laptop. I'm listening.
All right. Well, my fact of the week, a Greek-Canadian man named Sam Panopoulos invented the Hawaiian pizza. So he was neither an Italian or Hawaiian, but rather just like Ben Statutory Burger and the Pittsburgh Steelers, he was a fraud.
Okay, man. Steelers have an easy week against Denver.
Why are you talking about the Steelers? I was talking about
easy week against Denver.
I wasn't talking about the Steelers. I was talking about Panopoulos, who invented the Hawaiian pizza. That he was a fraud. Who's the Steelers you're talking about?
Yeah,
I don't know who you're talking about, man.
No, I think the quarterback for the Broncos is questionable or out or.
Oh, Teddy.
Cut his feed, Steve.
What?
Cut his feed.
Oh,
Steelers fans running his mouth.
I thought you said fetus.
That too.
Very good. Well, yeah, we're going to see how this game goes, man. And a lot of people have different opinions on Trey Lance, so it makes you wonder, man, would I rather be feared or loved? Easily, both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me.
Kyler Murray, baby.
All right, guys. That is it for this week's edition of the 49-Yard Dash podcast. I am your host, Steven. That is Josh. That is Luke. We'll see, hopefully, when we're back, we're talking about a victory against Arizona. But until then, peace out.
I do drugs.